is about showing you how we use IT in school and how you can help your children at home. One of the primary things is for if your children are having problems getting online at home, accessing their emails and things, hopefully we can solve that tonight. So why Google? Essentially we're a Google school. So every child from year 3 up gets given their own Gmail account. It doesn't look like a Gmail account, but it is. We buy into the domain. In year 3 and year 4, it's a closed email account, so they can only email within the school. In year 5 and year 6, we open it up. We think that they're ready for that by the e-safety training that we do. E-safety training starts in reception and goes all the way through for the first half term each year. So I spent this afternoon sitting on the floor with a year 1 class talking about Smarty the Penguin and how to keep safe online. That's really important because everything we do is online really when we go onto computers. We chose Google because it doesn't matter what device you're on. If in other schools I've worked at, when we've gone for Word, then people with Macs have trouble. By using the Google Docs, it doesn't matter if we're using a phone or an iPad or a MacBook or a laptop or a desktop. It doesn't matter, it all works the same way. You're going online using the Google suite of software, which I'm going to get you to have a go at later. In school we use Chromebooks. So Chromebooks are like a cut down laptop. There's no hard disk in them, which has some real advantages. It just connects through Google Chrome straight online. So there's nowhere for viruses to attach itself to. They don't slow down because nothing ever goes on them. So I've been here for 6 years and we bought our first set in that first year and we're still using them today. We've hardly had any breakages. They're very reasonably priced. If you keep your eye out on the Amazon days, you can buy a new Chromebook for £100. I think the new iPads are touching on 500 quid now, so it's a big difference really. And the other thing we've just started to do with our Chromebooks is the ones that most of you guys will be using. Apart from them being laptops, they also convert to tablets. So we're trying to get the children used to deciding when is it best to use a tablet, when is it better to use a keyboard. That's an important skill that they're going to need to get used to really. And teachers have gone one step further. We have snazzy ones with styluses now, which the kids love. Okay, connecting from home. So with a Chromebook it's easy, and the kids are used to putting in the first letter of their first name and then their surname, and when they press enter it prompts them for their password. Now some of them will do that at home and it won't work, so they can't get on. They need to be putting in this bit here. So for me, aatkinson@gatewaysch.co.uk. So all you need to do is if you go to Gmail and sign in with that, it will work. So that's one option, just going onto any device. It's best to use Chrome as your browser, so Google Chrome, typing in Gmail and then logging on that way. There is another option which I'm going to show you guys. So this is a normal Windows PC. And you can actually sign into the browser instead of just signing into email. Okay. So up here, it should look the same on any computer. There's that little image of a person. That tells you that Chromebook isn't signed in to anybody in particular. It's just a generic page at the moment. So if I click on that, and click on sign in. So this is different. Instead of being just in my Gmail, now I'm connected up with all of the school stuff. So now, if I click on the home page, it will load up the school's intranet that the children are used to. Obviously they don't get a teacher one, but they have a student one. And for many, that makes it a lot easier.
Is that the same on a Mac as well as a...
Yep, yep. As long as it's on a Google Chrome browser, same.
Yep.
Yep. So that's a really good way to do it, as long as you don't mind them signing in and out of Chrome. Another way of accessing the drive is when they've logged into their Gmail. This button here that looks like a keypad, that also gives them access to all of the software. So there are two ways of doing it, just depends what they prefer really. But I would say most people would prefer to use, we call it the landing page. Does that all make sense? Okay, Drive. Drive is where all the documents are stored and where you create new documents. So essentially, there's a shared drive and there's a personal drive. And it doesn't create multiple copies of documents, it's one drive, one document pointed to different locations. And we're going to have a go at making one now. So if I could get you guys to log on, because if you open up your Chromebooks, so you don't need to put in, because you're at school on the Chromebooks, you don't need to put in the @ gateway, so you would just put in parent and then the number, and it doesn't need to be a capital either. You all have the pupil landing page open, so just it's this new button that is really important. So I am going to make a new slideshow, which is Google's equivalent of PowerPoint. Okay. So I've made this presentation, not very much of it, but I've saved it as a name up here, and it tells me that all the changes are saved in my drive. So it saves automatically every few seconds, which is really handy. And we also have the ability to go back in time and see revision history. So, for example, if some children did something that they shouldn't have done and then deleted it, and say, no, I didn't do that. You bring up the revision history and say, well, at 1:34, this is what you did. So it's quite handy. Fortunately, we don't have to do that very often at all.
How do you save it? Does it save automatically?
Saves automatically.
Yeah, there's no save button,
no. Yeah, very handy. So the key features are very similar to PowerPoint, really. So I can double click to highlight a word. I can choose from a myriad of fonts, just the same as you can in PowerPoint. I like permanent marker. Up here, if you're used to Office, it's all very similar. Choose different fonts here. What I quite like is if I go to these tools here, if I want to find a picture, if I click on the Explore button, instead of having to open up another tab, I can search kangaroo. I can either go to Web, My Drive, or Images. I can have a look through, find one I like the look of, and I just click and drag onto my page. Comes up a bit big. video. So I thought what might be fun is I'm going to show you how I can share things and then give you each a slide to work on at the same time. Just so that you get an idea really of how it all works. So I've clicked on the share button. You may need to remind children who are getting used to doing this, but once they've clicked on the share button, they have options here. So they might want to share, they might be doing group work at home, and 3 or 4 children might log on to the same document, or they might just want to share it with their teacher. So they have options here. The default is that everybody who you share it with can edit it. There is just a commenting one, which some children like to do, and teachers comment on work down the side, or can view if they want to show something. The sharing is really powerful. I had year 5s were doing graphical modelling just before Christmas, and we started to design some cards. And one of the girls shared it with her dad, who was at work, and they made it together. I'm not sure he should have been doing it at work, but they had a lovely time working on it together. It was really nice to see. And like with the commenting, if somebody's proud of their work, they can share it with people at home, and they can comment and say, just that extra feedback is really good. I'm going to let you guys edit. So even when you're at home, when if somebody wants to share it with me, if they type in A, it'll come up with all the stuff. It's all preloaded, so they should be able to find. If they know surnames, first names, initials, doesn't matter. If I send it, you should all have, you can either go to shared with me, or you should all have an email saying I've shared a document with you that you can open up. And you'll start to see, everyone's going to be G, but you can see how many people are starting to join on already. So I think what I'm going to do is, I'd like a slide on your favourite animal. Just one interesting information, one title, one picture. And if you are guest parent number 2, slide 2 is yours. Does that make sense? So, guest parent number 3, slide 3. Please don't go onto each other's slides like children. You can feel the focus in the room. Hopefully that shows you how quickly something can be created. The sharing function is really quite powerful. Creating an individual slide and then combining them all together takes quite a bit of time, but you can put things together very quickly, and they don't need to be sat next to their partner. They can be anywhere in the room. They can be at home. I have even been teaching a lesson and a child's been sick, but they're on their Chromebook at home, and they've joined in with what they're doing. So. All right. Well done, everybody, on that. Very good. I thought it was important just to let you see what it's like, because quite possibly your children are going to ask, and within Google, like Google Docs, which is the Word equivalent, the functions are the same. Some people, diehard Microsoft people, will say it's completely different. You lose formatting, this, that, and the other. They're not that different, really. And the formatting issues that used to be there aren't really anymore.
But in year 3, can they only share this within here? So they couldn't share it with my...
No, not yet. Right. Google Classroom we've been using for 2 years now, really. It's quite a powerful tool. So I'm just going to show you how we use it at school, and then I'm going to get you guys to have a go so that you understand how it works as well. So it looks a little bit like a social networking page, really, which is quite handy. I post and people reply to my posts. So it's a good way of sharing work, sharing ideas, and it's really interesting the responses you get from different people. Some people that would never put their hands up will post massive amounts of information on there. It doesn't mean to say that I would only ever use Google Classroom, but it's a way of getting a whole lot range of ideas down, then we stop and we talk about it. So it just includes more people, I find. So I use it with our lessons. We set lesson intentions, and then usually the teacher decides what the success criteria will be for you to achieve those lesson intentions. We're trying to push towards children deciding, having a say in how they will be successful. So here's an example. So this is a part of our graphical modelling one in Year 5. And I said that their intention was to create a detailed model of the ICT room from a bird's eye perspective. So I gave them an example from a past pupil, and then I asked them to reply and say what they thought would make them successful. So really quickly, they were all coming up with ideas of what they needed to do to achieve. And then from there, I stopped the class, we had a chat together, and we decided, I used one of these traditional things, and we decided that those were our success criteria. And Nathan very kindly said he likes those success criteria, that it's important, and now he knows what he needs to do. So hopefully you can see that the way, it's almost like a Facebook post, but it's used in a completely different way. Reflecting on their work and evaluating things that they've done. So Year 6s in the second half term look at Prezi, and they present to the class. So they've started to share some ideas of their performance, how they thought they did. It's amazing how much detail I can get from the children in such a short period of time. I think it helps that they can have a look at what other people have said, and it sort of scaffolds their ideas if they're not sure. This was something that I posted for looking at algebra, and whenever I have a maths classroom, and I put links down that I think will help them, and I always get them to comment with it, how effective it was. This was an interesting one because somebody said they preferred a different website and put a different link in, so I added that link. I didn't know about that link, so I learned from that. Another maths thing. So they had to divide whole numbers by fractions, but I wanted them to explain to me in words, which is much harder and shows much better understanding than actually doing a sum. I've created a classroom for you guys. So if we go back to our landing page. This one here is Google Classroom. So if I could get you guys to click on it. And you're going to need to say that the email is right and that you are a student, please. There we go. So I can tell, I haven't opened it up yet, and I can tell that I've got students. Okay. So with this, I try to encourage the children to have their classroom open all the time while they're working with me. Great class, very good. Guest parent 13. It's really handy because I can have this up, and while I'm moving around the room, I can glance up and see what people are saying. Some people will ask a question about the work that they're doing. Somebody else will respond to that question. It might be that we need to have a whole class discussion where I can stop them there, but it's just another way of sharing your thoughts. So please, if you have any questions or thoughts, please add to them as we go tonight. And we'll see what we come up with. I like guest parent 13. One of the big uses of this is for setting work. That year 5 and 6 are starting to get a lot of homework set on it. Year 3 and 4, more year 4 are starting to use this in class quite a bit. So what is really clever about it, so I have set you an assignment. What if I say something naughty, rude? Does it appear? Yes, it does. And it's really interesting because if somebody does say something, no, that's the way most children work at the moment. They are fairly used to multitasking. The children are very good at regulating that. We're very clear on the rules. I delete anything that I don't consider appropriate. Somebody will try and put in like a text message you instead of YOU. And as soon as somebody says something like that, somebody else is going to jump on and say, you can't do that. And then it gets deleted. So it's very quick. So Google Chrome is Google's equivalent of how you get online onto the web. So Internet Explorer is Microsoft's browser. Some of the other popular ones are Mozilla Firefox. With Apple Safari, that's Apple's browser. So it's just the way that you connect to the internet, essentially. I guess Google Drive, every time you make a document, it's a web page, is the best way of explaining it. And because it's a web page, it's online, so that's how we can share it. We can have multiple people looking at it. How often per week do they use Chromebooks? That's a good question. Every class has 2 ICT sessions per week, but we have 3 sets of Chromebooks within the school that are bookable. So English uses them a lot, humanities uses them a lot. So they do go onto Chromebooks quite a bit, really. I suspect my son is going to be much quicker at this than me. There's nothing wrong with that. Use that. I really like it when I have a pupil who teaches me something. It's not something to be afraid of. Do we help them learn to type? We don't really have time to give them. There are lots of, BBC has one called Dance Mat Typing, which is quite a good one. There are lots of them online that you can practice with.
Do you do some sort of spell check on there?
Yes.
They're not very good at spelling.
On the classroom, it goes red if the spelling is incorrect, and you do a 2-finger click is like a right click, and it should come up with suggestions. There we go. Yeah, there are. So a 3-finger swipe lets you move between tabs. 2 fingers on the trackpad let you move up and down. It does take a bit of getting used to. If you're used to Apples, they're the same. Yeah, I think that's a really key one. Some people don't like to put their hand up, and this gives them a voice. It would be interesting to know how much longer we'll be typing for, really. If I go back to my drive, we experimented this a little bit with year 6s last year. If I go to a Google Doc, there's a voice typing. So if I click on that, right now, hello, my name is Adam. Welcome to Gateway School. It's not bad.
Teach it?
No. Yeah, a lot of the more traditional, the Dragon Speak type things, you need to train. These ones you don't.
So the accuracy level is pretty low.
Well, That wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. I would be proofreading anything that I sent out if I did it that way. But it's interesting.
That's going to be the future, isn't it?
Right, so back to the assignment that I've sent you. So this is what a lot of the teachers really like about Classroom. So if I click on this, so I created this assignment last night. I can control when it goes live. And what Google Classroom does is that I can set it to make a copy for each pupil. So it will automatically make a copy of what I've given you for each of you. You can work on it and then you can hand it in and Google streams it into a folder that it's created for me. So very handy, and teachers can comment as well. So every classroom in the school, every screen now has a Chromecast, so the children, we're moving away from this being the teacher's domain, and the children are getting really good at zooming their work up. In a lesson, most children will want to put their work up. It's great. So I've given you some questions. Mr. Bradley's writing in for me. When he's happy with it, he can turn it in and then it will get streamed into my folder and it will say that it's complete. So I can see that 4 people have finished that homework piece already, so I can go in, have a look, and I can comment on it. So English teachers, humanity teachers, those sort of people use this a lot. Children are spending more and more time doing their homework this way. It's also, teachers are starting to attach worksheets, so that the old adage that you lost it or you left it in your bag doesn't work anymore. Why didn't you print out another one?
Question.
Yep.
Once they're logged into the school's intranet thing, is it? Is there any restriction if they then do web browsing? Is that filtered at all?
Not at home. No. At school it is, but not at home.
So they could be logged into this, but still search for whatever.
Yeah, because they're on your Wi-Fi. We can't control that.
When they're in the classroom,
Yep.
can you see what they're doing? So if they weren't doing their homework,
Yeah.
you can see, can't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's always fun to see the look of shock on a child's face. And they don't think you know what they're doing.
Someone asked a question about accessing online resources to help us maybe share this with our partner. Or, what tools around that was one of the questions. That was a good question. So do I don't know, Chromebooks run a YouTube training session, 15 minutes on all you need to know on Chromebooks?
Google does have a whole load of help videos that you can look at, and they are on YouTube. Yeah. Google Video didn't work too well, so they bought YouTube. Yeah, hopefully your children will get you to the point where they can show you things as well. And if you ever have any questions, please come and see me. Does anybody have any? What we try to do with resources as well, if we want children to be researching Vikings, then we encourage our teachers to put some links onto the classroom to narrow in their search. There's so many sites out there.
Could you add their email address onto your phone email account, just so that you can see what's coming through if they were in year 5, for example?
Yes, you could.
So you keep a monitor of it that way?
Yep. Yeah, certainly.
So one of the questions I asked was, so you have here's the teacher, which is you.
Yeah.
Here is the child, right?
Yeah.
So can you not create an associated parent account? So like I have 3 kids, for example. So that now I have a parent account that has a email address. that I can add to my phone. Instead of having 3 kids' accounts, I'll have the one account. I'll know exactly what you assigned them for homework that day, so that when they get in, say, well, actually, what did you get for homework? Right? And they say, oh, they're nothing, though. But I would already know before they got home that they actually got that. But also, I can see what they submitted to you. So potentially, if, for example, one of them guys to write a 1-page essay that had 104 lines, right? I could see that they had 104 lines, but then I could also see that you picked up that they only had 104 lines. That type of thing. Not to monitor you, it's more for me to make sure that they do what they should be doing.
They are starting to experiment with parent emails onto the classroom. I haven't looked into it completely yet. I would say for the minute, the best thing to do would be to go in and have a look at their account.
Zach's actually set up Google at home, so he's the default emails whenever I open up. His pops.
Very good.
Default.
But you can have multiple users and you can switch between them. If you all sign into Chrome and add the user each time, then when you click on it, you can switch.
Yeah, I can work that out there.
And they all have access to Prezi, do they?
Not yet. In year 6, we create the Prezi accounts with them. Prezi is a presentation tool that uses zooming into different bits. It's like, I really like it. It's a huge piece of paper that you, instead of being like a linear presentation with slides one after the other, you put your ideas on to the paper and then you link them up however you want them to be linked. I can show you one if you like. There we go. So she's hidden it. Some writing just in there. That is present. Children like it. Quite good fun.